Hey guys, I'm down here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 971, Sentenced to Boil. Now, my opinion on this chapter may be slightly controversial, but I am prepared. And for the most part, I thought this chapter was dope. It was awesome. We got to see Oden doing Oden things, Hour of Legend shit. I was like, okay, yeah, this makes more sense, the Hour of Legend. However, when we come to the explanation of Oden's promise and with Orochi and Kaido, I didn't like it, and I've not seen anybody else mention it. Having only actually seen one review, and that was I read the chapter, looked at the reason, and I thought, yo, this is shit reason. I reread the chapter to thinking maybe I misinterpreted something Shinobu said. Then I watched Rogers Base's review, and he was happy with it. The reason that Shinobu gave, and then I was like, okay. Then I reread the chapter, and I was like, nah, this is bullshit. So let's go through it, and I think some of you may even agree with me, because I don't usually disagree with Oda. I love Oda and One Piece. One Piece being my longest running manga since I was like a kid. I've been reading this stuff. This is one of the chapters where I'm just like, I don't agree with that. So the first scene, Toki and kids. First thing we see is Toki telling her kids to let their food be tested for poison before they go to town on it. Obviously, in case of foul play. Momo doesn't really understand why their lives would be in any danger. To which Toki replies, "Because your father is a great man, and one day you will carry this nation on your shoulders." And just an aside here, I felt this was such a poignant moment to say this, seeing what we then see Oden do for the rest of this chapter. She specifically says, "You will carry this nation on your shoulders," and we then see Oden carry his boys, the best of his nation, on his shoulders. I was like, good use of words here. So the Hour of Legend begins, and this is the next scene. We see this giant vat of oil with wild, huge flames beneath it, boiling the oil insane to high temperatures. And I'm not sure if y'all have ever been burnt by oil or experienced an oil burn compared to like a hot water burn. It's so much worse. Oil has this clingy property, whereas water will just like hit and dribble off. Oil just sticks to your skin and it seeps. It's so much worse. So we see how bad it is actually when one of the guards falls into the pot for a hot second, pun intended, and literally bursts into flames and dies. Meanwhile, the clueless civilians comment on the fact that if Oden lost to Kaido, what was he ever useful for? His one redeeming feature, his strength, didn't award them the freedom that they sought. So Oden has been more than useless in this whole escapade. It's here that Oden begins his legend. He strikes his final deal with Kaido and Orochi. If the Scabbards, and this is the deal, he says, if the Scabbards and I enter the pot at the same time, those of us who survive a length of time that we can agree on, they will go free. If we survive beyond the time that we've agreed upon, they can go free, or the survivors can go free. So Kaido is captivated by this. He's like, yeah, this is pretty cool, considering that God just died like really badly a couple seconds ago. So Kaido says, he gives a number. He's like, oh, you're never going to match this. An hour. An hour is agreed upon, giving Oden his immense task. That's a burden to bear on his shoulders already. What does he do? He goes into the pot first. This is Oden, with the Scabbards hurrying after him. Oh, we can't let the daimyo of Kuri, we can't let our master go into the pot without us. Let's go in after him. We'll meet him in the afterlife. I was like, yo, these guys are like, this is 47 Ronin shit. Like, we'll meet you in the afterlife kind of shit. Only Oden gets them all to stand atop a plank and carries them above his shoulders, literally carrying his whole team, so they're not touching the oil directly, but they're technically in the pot. The Scabbards will all refuse. They're all shouting stuff at Oden, saying, yo, like, you can't be doing this. We should be the other way around. We should be saving your ass, not you saving our ass. But Oden silences them, telling them this is an order. Shut your mouths and stay there. Stay still. Stay silent. You're gonna survive. So I felt this was such a beautiful callback to what Toki had told Momonosuke. You will one day bear the nation on your shoulders. And like I said before, we have Oden here, having already done his best to save his nation with the dancing. We'll come back to that. But also saving the best of his nation in his final act of leadership and selflessness. I thought this was awesome. What a legend. What makes this worse is the genuine struggle you see Oden going through only a single minute into the execution. If Oden was just there, grimacing and bearing it all, from the beginning to the end, I'd be like, good job. Like, it would still be immensely insane, like, just thinking about that torture, that pain. But the fact that you can see him already starting to break. He's like, holy shit, this is disgusting what I'm feeling right now. A minute into the execution, you're just like, oh, we're gonna see him struggle, and that's the best part. The struggle is what's making this worth the read, and it makes him more of a legend. So we actually see here his feet are slick with blood, his skin is splitting all over. Absolutely horrific way to go out, but Oden persists. And then we have the next scene, which is Truth from Shinobu. We get the controversial part of this chapter for me. So a civilian mentions how this execution is boring and wasting his time, which annoys Shinobu, as you'd expect, prompting her to slam him down to the ground and scream the truth to her nation. One thing, by the way, Shinobu was actually within the crowd watching this execution. Anyway, going back to the guy that she slammed to the ground, and she's screaming to the nation. She tells us what she overheard in the conversation between Orochi, Oden, and Kaido. So Orochi doesn't want to rule Wano, he wants to ruin Wano. Why? When his grandfather was executed, his family weren't forgiven for his grandfather's sins by the public. So his family were chased, beaten, killed, thrown into rivers, which is where the killed comes in, by the people of Wano. Every person in Wano... Well, actually, no. So now that he's in power, he's going to ruin and exact revenge on every person in Wano for mistreating the Kurozumi clan. And as scummy as Orochi is, I kind of feel like he has a reason for doing the shit he's been doing, and he's kind of right. I mean, like, to an extent, Wano held his whole family accountable for the sins of one man. Maybe the best way to have gone about that would be execute the leaders of the family, but to persecute the entire family is wrong. So where I can see Orochi coming from is he's thinking, yeah, bitch, you just kill my whole family and you terrorize and ostracize my family. Two can play at that game. Even though a good man would say all of Wano isn't responsible for what some of Wano did to Orochi's family, Orochi isn't that guy. He's going to be like, nah, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to wax poetic now. All of you guys, even though it was some part of Wano, but he's like, most of the Wano civilians, according to him, were ostracizing and killing his family. So he's going to just, this is your just desserts. This is what you deserve. So in one aspect, even though Orochi is scum, I can see where he's coming from, and I'm kind of just like, yeah, Wano, you kind of brought this upon yourselves. Like, obviously Kurozumi, the old man Kurozumi, grandfather Kurozumi, he was the guy that was executed. Well, he was made to commit seppuku, and that should have been it. But the rest of the Kurozumi clan should have, maybe their titles, their land stripped of them, and they just became peasant class, whatever. But they were actively sought after by the civilians and basically destroyed. So we're then told that Orochi, he shows Oden his tribute for Kaido, which is a great stock of weapons, but it's also a great stock of humans, people who have been kidnapped from Wano, possibly over the years that Orochi has been in control, to be sold into slavery, tortured for the hell of it, or killed for the hell of it by the looks of things. And Oden was furious and has a small scuffle with Kaido here, until Orochi suggests something, and this is where things go wrong in this chapter for me. So he says, Oden, if you want to save your people, you should dance nude every week at the same time, and 100 people will be freed for every dance that you do. So if he did this every week for 5 years, that's like 5 by 52, 260, I think, weeks. So 260. So that's a lot of people he's saving. He's like 260k people. Holy shit, how many people do they have? But I think my maths might be around there. My maths might be severely 26,000 people, I think it is. Yeah, I think I might still be wrong somewhere along the lines. But yeah, so if he did this every day for 5 years, Orochi and Kaido would have built their ships and promised to sail away at that time. So I think Oden might have saved the people that were held as tribute a long time ago, but he continued the dance so that Orochi and Kaido would then sail away on the ships that they'd built in 5 years. So trusting the slimy shogun and the freaking pirate Kaido, which is stupid, Oden did this for 5 years, traveling between the regions to make sure that everything was going the way it should. She screams at everyone, Shinobu, in the crowd. She screams at them, this guy who protected you for 5 years straight, losing his popularity and love of his people, would you dare to call him a fool now? To which I would say, yeah, I mean, like, this, I would still call him a fool because this would have been touching for me, but I can't process it logically. Oden is doing something amazing here, which is touching and shows how selfless he's become, a true leader. He's carrying the scabbards above him. However, I think instead of bending to the will of Kaido and Orochi, you dance for us, dance, bitch. and we'll release 100 people per dance. And I think that also negates the fact that they'll be, they'll be kidnapping people. So he's saving the populace at large from being kidnapped and then tortured or killed, and he's saving the people who have been kidnapped by releasing 100 of them every dance he does every week. However, if he had just, I don't know, fought against them at that point and said no. So what would have happened if he just fought them back then 5 years ago? So if he had said, rather than wait 5 years for you to leave and dance in the nude, saving 100 people every time I dance every week, I'm going to kick the shit out of you right now and save these people myself. Then with all my boys, the scabbards, Hyogoro, all the samurai, we're going to rid this country of Kaido's plague. What would have happened then? A question to you guys. I'm sorry, but my assumption was that an offer was made to Oden which put him between a rock and a hard place. He could not refuse the offer. You do this, we have your wife, we have your son in prison, Toki, for 5 years. We're going to keep her for 5 years. You dance in the nude and we won't kill anybody, but you're gonna obtain all of that shame. You're gonna burden all of that shame. Your reputation will go to shit. Maybe something like that. But an offer he couldn't refuse, and in this situation he could have very easily refused and killed the people responsible for terrorizing his family, his friends, and his country, his nation. And I know that Kaido said, "Oh, you're soft," but this was not soft. This was foolish. This was stupid. This was a badly written excuse by Oda, I would say, unless I've mistranslated this, unless I've misinterpreted this, and I'm hoping someone out there is able to convince me otherwise. But it looks to me like this is just a shit reason. And if this was, let me put it this way: if Roger had been in that position, and if Whitebeard had been in that position, they would have said this is some bullshit, and I'm gonna show you what real strength looks like, kicking the shit out of Kaido and Orochi, because Orochi's a non-factor in this, right? It's just Kaido that Oden had to get by, and Kaido would probably have been killed by Oden, seeing their interaction in that battle after Hyogoro had been imprisoned and his wife had been murdered. We already saw Kaido was about to get bodied by Oden, I think. So to say that he wouldn't have got bodied then when Oden was at his peak, I don't agree with that. So I can't get on board with this. And for the first time, possibly, well, not possibly ever, for the first time in a long time, I think Oda failed to deliver on this occasion, which took away from the impact of Shinobu's revelation. For me, it was garbage. That revelation was garbage. The rest of the chapter and the impact, the impact, that was garbage, but the rest of the chapter was good. I just don't think this was a good reason. I think it was a poor reason, and I can't get behind it at all. So next chapter, I think Oden is probably gonna die standing, which would be legendary as fuck. And I think a lot of the fans think the same thing. It's gonna be an emotional ride, and his scabbard's gonna be pissed when they find out. And I'm assuming there's gonna be some major foul play here. As the scabbards are told, walk back to Kuri, where you belong in the outer districts of Wano or some shit like that, only for them to actually reach Kuri and see that the calamities have set aflame the castle, which houses Toki and kids, and they're still inside. So the epicness has yet to finish, boys. I feel like we've still got a long way to go with the castle being set aflame, seeing the emotion in the scabbards' eyes as they realize not only have they lost their leader, their friend, their brother, their inspiration, their idol, but they've also lost everything they said they would protect for him in the case of his absence, which they're unable to do. So the emotions will continue to roll out. I still think the reasoning in this chapter was garbage. Shinobu's reasoning of why Oden did what he did, I think it was pure shit. But I'm hoping one of you boys or gals or whatever will be able to give me another reason why. Tell me why this was a good reason as opposed to a terrible reason, which is what I think it was. Anyway, that's the end of this review. That's the end of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday when I release my My Hero Academia review. So I'll see you guys in a bit.